You're listening to the Bear in Mind podcast, episode number 47.
A podcast uncovering identity, color, and love, where driving yourself crazy is totally sane and curable. Now your host, T. Vias.
Do you consider yourself a doormat? I think I kind of still am. I used to be really a doormat where I never really stood up for myself or for what I wanted, I guess, and didn't really state my opinions to people. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about standing up for yourself and kind of how we think it should look like and how maybe it really feels when you really stand up for yourself. Because we think that I think we're socialized to think that standing up for ourselves is kind of being assertive and standing our ground and talking loudly sometimes and making sure our viewpoint is heard. And one of the things I realized is when you're a doormat, that extreme option seems like that's where you should go, although it might seem kind of scary. Because as a doormat, you're not even, at least when I was a doormat, I wasn't even saying my opinions on subjects that even weren't technically considered controversial. I was not showing myself. I wasn't showing up as myself. So that kind of extreme version of me seemed really fearful. And then as I got kind of sick of being a doormat, and then as I grew and developed more and understood more about emotional health and things like that, I kind of took the opinion that, yes, now I need to stand up for myself and be kind of those things that I was talking about, assert yourself, assert your opinions, say what you think all the time. And I've gone back and forth, and I don't know if you're kind of like this, there seems to be this, well, yes, you should do this to stand up for yourself so you're not considered a doormat or you don't feel like a doormat or something. And what I've come to realize is it actually doesn't matter if you think, it doesn't matter if someone perceives you, I guess, as a doormat or as standing up for yourself. It really only matters how you think about yourself. And if you think you are a doormat, and then why do you think of yourself that way? And then if you think of yourself, what does that mean to you in the first place, what it means to be a doormat, and why is it a problem actually? Because it might not even be a problem. I mean, some people, I imagine, are quite content with not necessarily stating their opinions. It's not that everyone has to go out there and assert their opinions in the world. But for me, it was a problem because I think that it didn't lead to intimacy in my relationships. I lived so much in fear of saying anything about me or showing an emotion or showing something that I think for me, I could see that there was no true intimacy with others in friendships or romantic relationships. And then I started to realize that, okay, this doormat of not asserting who I am to people, it needed to change. Or I wanted to change it, not because it needed to change for something, but I actually wanted to change it. And so it took a lot of courage to start to say what I thought about a situation or anything like that. However, I have made mistakes along the way. And I think, when you're trying to change from a place of truly wanting to change some of the way you show up in the world, not because you think you should change because someone will like you or something like that, but when you genuinely want to do it for yourself, you kind of test out different ways. So it's a mistake, yes, and I'm happy it's a mistake, and I needed to make these mistakes. And the way I kind of view this mistake is that I would look back on it now at the stage that I've kind of progressed in standing up for myself as, oh, okay, I don't think I would have handled that situation that way, but it's okay that I did. I mean, I'm okay. It happened. I can't change it. I can't argue really with the past. And so there's two instances where I told somebody how I felt about the friendship. And I told them that I didn't trust them and that I didn't really want to have a friendship contact with them anymore. And it really, I thought that was standing up for myself. And then I also thought that standing up for yourself was going to feel really good. And this is where I think the mismatch is. And we're kind of socialized into thinking that the standing up is doing something similar to what I did, asserting your opinion, your thoughts, asserting how you feel about something to someone. And it looks, I think, powerful, when actually, for me, I didn't feel very powerful. And this kind of paradox is what has kind of intrigued me over the last couple of years, I would say, is that, okay, I was a doormat. I don't want to be a doormat. So my only option then is to assert myself. Then yet I don't really feel kind of this, what I would think that someone would feel like when they're standing up for yourselves. And I think that especially if you're kind of in the doormat category, is that when you do see somebody assert their opinions and what you think that they're standing up for themselves, so you think that that's coming from a place of power. And I often question that now today, because when I have done it, I don't feel as powerful as I thought I would by saying, hey, you know what, friend, I don't trust you and I don't want to really have any interactions with you anymore. And I felt like it backfired a little bit in my face. And here's why I think it backfired and why I didn't really end up feeling like I stood up for myself. In both of these situations, there was actually no need for me to say, hey, I don't trust you and I don't really want to have any kind of interaction with you. It was me merely wanting to have them know what I thought and felt about them. And that's not really coming from a place of powerfulness, because true power is really understanding yourself and having control of yourself. And I went to them and I think at the time, if I can remember right, it's like I was needing something from me telling them my opinion and my feelings and et cetera. I needed something back. And true power almost coming from a place of love. And it doesn't sound intuitive to say that. The option could have been, hey, I'm accepting of that person. I can love that person, that friend, and I can say no. Because what we forget sometimes in kind of this way we kind of look at things is that when we say things like love first, and there's like these memes and stuff like that, is we forget, I think, two important things, is that when we come from a place of love, we can come from a place of love for the other person and for ourselves. And that's how I think standing up for yourself actually feels good. It's because you are coming from that place of love for both people. And I'll tell you what, I have recently practiced this in a close relationship of mine with a family member where I came from a place of love and I said no. And they're not in my daily life. And that's very difficult. It's a family member. And I could go down a path of expressing myself and standing up for myself, but it's been about a year now since I've done it. And if I think back on those other friends that I went to them and I asserted myself and my thoughts and my opinions, I had regretted it looking back on it. And now I'm looking back on how I've handled things with the family member, and I don't have regrets. And I didn't say, look, I'm at this place, I don't trust you, and things like that. I came from a place of love, and it's a no to staying in contact and getting together and all of these kind of things. And that power that you presumably are going to feel when you think that by standing up for yourself means asserting all of your opinions and who you are to people, that's kind of all false. Because I realize I have more power in me in how I handled this situation today. And I feel like, wow, I did stand up for myself. And no one had to hear me. There wasn't any big speech or anything like that. It was very quiet and internal and deeply powerful for me. And so I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'll check back with you next week.
Thanks for listening. Listen for a new episode next Tuesday by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Bye for now.